Tourette's podcast is not a medical advice show. It's a show about experiences. In the course of that, we may talk about medications or therapies or stories from the doctor's office, but don't mistake any of that for medical advice or direction. It's not. Get that only from people or places licensed or certified to give it, not from a massively fun and action-packed podcast about our life experiences, such as...
Like Skittles dropped down. It was like a rainbow. It was like, somebody got it right, because I've been saying it for years. I've been telling my family something is wrong. They're like, no, you just high sprung, you just overspoke, you're outspoken, blah, 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 blah. And then after a while, it's just like I turned into a ball of fire, because I'm like, okay, no one understands. When I got diagnosed, the day that the doctor told me that I had TS, and when he gave me that answer, my brain was in an overload with emotions that I couldn't understand. It was bananas.
This is Tourette's podcast, made possible with support of the Tourette Association of America and part of the Geeks Rising Network. Hey everybody, happy Tourette Awareness Month, which we are kicking off with the drop of this episode, properly starting Season 7 of Tourette's podcast, along with the separate Episode 0. Again, this is Episode 1, and we also have an Episode 0, which is out right now. In that one, you can hear the conversation I had with Brittany Wolf and A.D. Smith, two giants of Tourette advocacy, and that was at the kickoff of the big thing happening at this very moment, as I speak, being the annual conference of the Tourette Association of America. We did an official conference launch event last night. That was Friday night, May 14th. And Episode 0 is a recording of the fun, tone-setting conversation I had with Tourette advocate Brittany Wolf and A.D. Smith of the Amazon Prime TV show The Three Drinkers and other media that he's known for. So you can find that Episode 0 of Season 7 at tourettespodcast.com or on your podcast player. This, what you're listening to right now, is Episode 1 of the new season, our 7th season, which is unbelievable. Thanks so much for the DMs and the email and all the other ways you've written in to comment about the podcast or ask questions. I know some of you are still awaiting a reply. I'm very sorry for being late on that. I will say, if you have a question about a difficult scenario in life, like maybe something about a complicated tic or a painful tic that you have and what to do about it, or maybe a family issue revolving around Tourette, please feel comfortable taking that question or that concern to the Tourette's podcast discussion group on Facebook. Hundreds and hundreds of people there. They're all really appreciative of these kinds of questions and are really quick to respond. It's a great community. Discussion group admin Sophia and I make sure that group stays a respectful and welcoming place. So that's a great option for your questions, which, of course, you can always continue sending me at tourettespodcast@gmail.com or through the contact link at tourettespodcast.com. So Tourette Awareness Month is May 15th through June 15th. And we released a mini episode of sorts with the Tourette Association a couple weeks ago to talk about what they have going on for Awareness Month, not the least being the activities of the annual conference, which you can learn about at touretteconference.org or tourette.org. Tourette is spelled Tourette. If you're new to the podcast, I'm glad you found it. Please let me know how you found it. tourettespodcast@gmail.com. Always like knowing how you came across it. And I hope it has some worth to you in terms of understanding Tourette syndrome in a sincere, from the source kind of way, which ends up being more interesting and engaging than the sensationalized or contrived approaches that, we often complain about. My name is Ben. I was diagnosed with it when I was a little kid. I'm about to turn 41, and I've only been open and communicative about my Tourette and depression and anxiety and ADHD and everything else for only about 3.5 years. Around the time this podcast started, I started the podcast to open up about it because I was closeted about it and ashamed and didn't want to put up with the effects of stigma. I just wanted to control my own narrative and not give people the material to prejudge me in some way or make fun of me or, but I always felt different and wondered what the Tourette community, the greater Tourette community out there was like and where the science was on it and whether other people out there had the same quirks that I have, the same kinds of weird experiences, so to speak. Undo the isolation, that's a big one, and give myself real context that maybe I could learn from. And that's why I've been doing the podcast for several seasons, just unscripted, totally raw conversations with other people who have Tourette syndrome. Which brings us, in episode 1 of season 7 right here, to one of my favorite conversations yet. And this is with someone a good number of people in the Tourette community actually know of through social media. But if you do know her that way, I don't think you've heard her in this way, in a long-form conversation about her experiences with Tourette. Very individual experiences. This one has everything. It's hilarious, it's serious, it's really relatable. Our guest is Gogo. She's in her 50s, and she's dealt with Tourette her whole life, but didn't know it really. I mean, she knew it. She knew something was different about herself, but she didn't know it as Tourette until much later, deep into her adult life, which, you know, it's when she found a doctor who finally took her seriously and gave her the diagnosis, which was one of the highest points of her life. Every bit of this conversation is good and powerful and often really funny, because if you know anything about Gogo, you know that she's hilarious and very brash and raw indeed. I guess this is to give a language notice. There's definitely some cursing. I don't censor anything. I'm not talking about coprolalia. I'm just talking about conversational cursing. You definitely get some of that on this episode. And even though I want to give you that notice, I have to emphasize again, this is a great conversation with someone whose story is unique, but still is somehow totally relatable. I'll go ahead and shut up, and I'm going to leave you with it. This is me talking with Gogo.
Go for it. I'm excited.
Yeah, me too. Well, yeah, let's just jump into it, if you're cool with that.
Ready.
Tell us who we're talking with, what's your name, and what's the general part of the world you live in?
I am Gogo from Florida, or I would prefer to be called Gogo, but my given name is Gail, and I live in Jacksonville, Florida.
Where did Gogo come from?
A child, when I was born, my grandmother said I came out the womb dancing. And that's how I've always been. I've always had a thing for music, so I dance everywhere. I'm always moving. Never knew it was because of Tourette's.
Yeah. I mean, so, obviously, like, music is a big relatable part to people who have Tourette. It's just, from an expression standpoint, from an interest standpoint, that side of the brain just seems to really light up. When did you learn that what you were experiencing had something to do with Tourette syndrome? Were you young when you were diagnosed, or did that come along later?
Funny thing, no, I say I'm a late bloomer because I didn't get diagnosed until age 52.
52?
I had a lot of tics. Back then, they diagnosed me with epilepsy, so I was taking seizure meds and all of that.
Yeah.
I was all of that. Never knew all of that was going on, was just tics. So I said, okay, somebody dropped the ball. And later on, I had a bad situation where they thought I had vertigo really bad. I almost ran over a few people, but it was TS. Wow. I'm like, okay, what the world? I didn't know what was going on. So I'm a late bloomer, and I'm learning from everyone else because I'm like beginning baby steps, but I'm loving it because it gave me an outlet now. I get it. When I got diagnosed, the day that the doctor told me that I had TS, he just put his hands crossways and he was like, well, I think you need to start saying fuck it. I was like, well, I've always had potty mouth. I say that, not a problem. And he was like, because you have TS. I burst out laughing because I was like, I get it now. And it was like my body was like extra happy till I went into full body combat mode with myself. Yeah. But it was so freeing then, and I get it, and I'm forever grateful for that doctor, and now we're here.
So, I mean, how did that really change things for you? Because I remember when when I was diagnosed, I was a little bit too young to remember, but one of the concerns was the same thing, that I was going through seizures, and you know, just, I guess my parents learning a little bit more about what was going on with me helped them to get a doctor to diagnose me with Tourette syndrome. And so I've always kind of grown up with it, even though I was, closeted about it because I was like embarrassed about it when I was a kid and I didn't really accept it until I was a lot older. But, with you, like, so the doctor just kind of like gives you the news that you need to kind of give you a compass in life. How did that change things for you? Was it just having an answer and like being confident that like, okay, I know what this is and I can live with it? Or what were you thinking?
It was like Skittles dropped down. It was like a rainbow. It was like, oh, freaking fact. God damn it.
Yeah.
Somebody got it right, because I've been saying it for years. I've been telling my family something is wrong. Something is wrong. They're like, no, you just high strung, you just overspoken, you're outspoken, blah, 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 blah. And then after a while, it's just like I turned into a ball of fire, because I'm like, okay, no one understands. And when he gave me that answer, my brain was almost in an overload.
Yeah.
With emotions that I couldn't understand. But it was like, you know what? It was just this easy. Why didn't nobody else get it?
Yeah.
I'm like, what the?
Yeah.
That's all I can say. What the is going on? But they keep saying it's so hard to diagnose. I'm like, how? But it was bananas.
Wow. So, so it was just that, like, finally getting that acknowledgement that, you knew there was something more to what people were telling you. And, it's almost like having a life of being dismissed. And then you finally get that person who recognizes it in you. And you're like, no, I see what's going on. I mean, that's got to be really empowering.
It was everything to me. It gave me, I tell people from May 2019 to now, Tourette's gave me my voice. Despite my voice changing, because this is not even my regular voice. That's why I kept telling them something's wrong.
Yeah.
I have a baby voice. I feel like I'm a preteen boy. But, people are listening to me even with this voice. And I'm like, what in the world? How did my voice get so big now?
Yeah.
But it was my Tourette. It gave me an outlet to say it now. I used to be so afraid. But it's almost like truth. I call it my truth serum. Not Tourette's, it's a truth serum. It's like, oh, it get there. Oh, I'm going to say it.
Yeah.
My family like, no.
Yeah. So sometimes like the Tourette makes the decisions for you. And that's kind of the nature of it with tics or with just kind of like, just things coming out. But, is it something that, because, it's a difficult thing, in that regard. And, you don't necessarily have the control of yourself that you want, but in expressing it, I mean, has that kind of helped you to manage it, or how do you manage it? Is this something you just kind of live with, or do you, I know comedy is a big thing for you. I mean, is that part of it too? That's
my outlet right there. My outlet is comedy. I can't tell anyone else TS story because I don't know anyone with TS. I've never met anyone. Only people I've seen is celebrities with TS.
Yeah.
That's how I learned about it. So when I tell my story, it's it's funny. I'm in the store, I'm touching myself like, okay, this is inappropriate, at least right now in the grocery store. But that's how I get it. I'm like, people like, how do you laugh about it? My story before TS was the hard part. Because the doctors had already said that my trauma, it suppressed my TS. And in a way I kind of get it. And in another way I feel like, bullshit, y'all just dropped the ball.
Yeah.
But the trauma that I did have, it was traumatic enough where I get that part. But I still say they could have picked up on it. But my comedy is my outlet. It makes me feel so good when people look at me like, do she have them? No. Like, how would you know if you never seen it?
Right. 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 Yeah.
That's what gets me.
I can't imagine growing up because, I mean, my backstory is different. I knew what the answer was with me. Like, I knew I had Tourette and I dealt with it in different ways. Some ways weren't very healthy and weren't very self-affirming. But growing up, knowing that there's something more than what people are telling you,
does that go all the way back to your childhood where you're like, there's something happening here, and I know people aren't taking me as seriously as they should be? Like, I mean, what was that like in your childhood where, you know, you were even maybe trying to explain it, but not really having the words Tourette syndrome to tell them?
It was, well, with me being 50, well, I'm 53 now, with me being a 60s baby, it's like they didn't have any knowledge of it. And me trying to explain it is almost like me trying to explain it now, because I still, at this point, at my age, I feel like I'm that child that first got diagnosed with epilepsy. So it's like I'm starting over with a blank page, which is good, but how do I explain the blank page? What do I put on the blank page? Because I don't know. I don't have the knowledge. So it's like, and it's like that now with my family and my friends. I'm trying to explain it to them, and they're looking like, I'm like, if y'all do not know, I do not know.
Yeah.
How are we going to interact and we get this together? You seeing what you're seeing on the internet is so not me. I'm afraid to look at stuff about Tourette's on the internet. It just boggles me like, oh God, I'm so glad I haven't gotten to that point. I hope I never get there. I've had the moments, but good gosh, to me, a lot of it is misinformation.
Yeah.
Tell some more stories. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, because I have people with Tourette's that has questioned me like, you got Tourette's? I'm like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
How do you question? Middle finger up. So
you're on social media a lot. Your Instagram is great, by the way. But is that where people kind of question you? Do people run it by you and they're like, do you really have it, or are you just making fun of it, or like?
It's more on TikTok, so I fell back from that. It was more people on there. Most of my fan base is on Instagram, and I'm more comfortable because I really was doing well over there in TikTok land. You know, I call it El Chapo land. You have enough numbers.
Yeah.
El Chapo would make you. But I just had to fall back. I'm like, why are y'all saying this to me? I'm a late bloomer. I understand y'all have questions, but question me. Don't just point the finger if you don't know. If mine don't look like yours, how the hell can you say I don't have it?
Yeah.
It's fucking dumb as fuck.
That's frustrating. And I mean, this is why I think it's awesome that you have comedy to kind of channel things through, because, you know, that's your language. That's, you know, something that you naturally gravitate toward. And sometimes I kind of wonder if, because, you know, like art and expression is a big thing of the Tourette community. And I don't know if it's because people with Tourette syndrome brains are naturally good at that, or if all of us just really, really need some kind of outlet and we just go to it and whatever feels like a natural fit. So for me, it's like photography and music, you know, and that's something I just like completely invest my life into because it feels good. I feel like I'm in control and I can, you know, it's like, it's my composition. I don't know if I'm naturally good at that, or if I just, you know, like desperately went to something that felt okay and this is how I can express myself. But with comedy, I mean, I have a feeling that it's just something innate within you that goes way before your Tourette diagnosis. I mean, is that kind of like a lifelong thing, or did you have family members who?
It was.
Yeah.
I've always been the clown of the family. I've always been the one to make it right through comedy.
Yeah.
And that's been my outlet anyway since childhood. Like, okay, I'm going to make somebody laugh because I was in so much hurt. So, hey, let's do this, let's do that. But as I gotten older, it wasn't more or less from the hurt. It was more or less a defense mechanism.
Yeah.
Like it is now to me. It's an outlet, awareness, and a defense mechanism. Like, you come for me, guess what? I've been through hell, shit, and then some. So what you going to bring is not really benefited to my table.
Yeah.
I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, it's interesting that you say defense mechanism because, and I totally understand that. I was reading something a while back about the evolution of laughing and humor and how it became to be, you know, comedy as a part of our lives. Back in the day, pre-human, like primates, I might be wrong about this, but early primates, introduced basically laughing to like lighten the scenario. And if someone like fell or something like that, or if like someone in their tribe or their family fell or, you know, just did something that would have been kind of embarrassing, one of them starts making this goofy noise of laughing to kind of like lighten the situation for everybody and makes everybody feel better. And, you know, I feel like that's a talent to be able to just kind of naturally do that and know what your material is going to be. And even if it is a defense mechanism, you know, it does help the situation for everybody to, you know, if there's a tense time or something where you said like you're the one who makes it right with comedy. I mean, that's a trait. That's a really, really strong attribute. And I love that you're able to channel it and help to manage your Tourette with comedy. You know what I mean? It's like, it's just something that makes the entire situation for everybody easier. And this is where, you know, some people were like, you know, you can't laugh at Tourette. You can't, you know, don't make jokes about it. And I think that's true if it's someone who's being mean-spirited about it, but there's a lot to laugh about within the community, you know? And
hell yeah. It's to me, it's almost like breathing.
Yeah.
Like everybody, like I've had this all my life. People saying, "Man, you clown too much. You laugh at the wrong shit." I'm like, I don't know, you know, it is what it is.
Yeah.
It's me, you know, but that has always been my outlet. Comedy and music. That touches my spirit. I'm good with it. I'm like, okay, I can do this and I feel a little bit better. I can tweak it a little. Music soothes me anyway, even with my tics. Certain music will make them intense. I've noticed that. Because some days I like to listen to hard rock and I'm like, okay, this ain't going well today. I listen to everything because I like everything. But yeah, really my thing. I'm ready.
Does anybody else in your family have anything like this that you can tell?
No, but funny thing is, I have a belching tic, and my great-grandmother was a huge belcher. I'm like, wait a minute. Is this what I'm thinking? I don't know. I question a few people in my family. I tell them, I'm like, you got a tic. I'm like, I got a only one of us going to be like this. I'm like, okay, then you discriminate against me, then middle finger to you too.
Yeah.
Kick rocks.
Yeah.
But they really, truly don't get it. It's like I'm walking around eggshells to make them be comfortable because they just is lost. But they coming around. It's a slow process. But I know in my heart of hearts, a few people in my family, immediate, has some tics.
Yeah, because I've seen stuff like that in my family too. Not tics exactly, but just other things that seem to make sense in context with me having Tourette syndrome and how my brain works. And so I don't know if anybody else in my family actually has it or could be diagnosed with it, but I see things that kind of connect, I guess. It's almost like I kind of complete the picture for some of them too in the same way. With Tourette, other things come with it too. Often, you know, anxiety, depression, stuff like that. Do you deal with that?
I deal with all of that.
Yeah.
I'm not cool with cars. I don't do it well with cars. I'm so antsy with cars. I get in a car and that's another thing I go back to before I got diagnosed. That's another thing I knew something was wrong. Lane shifting used to have me go bananas. I've been in a car like a big child. I'm having a meltdown. What is going on? Why are y'all moving? If we have to shift lanes,
yeah, I'm
about to tear the car up because I'm nervous. And I'm like that now. If you speed, I'm like, why are you? It's 70, but you're doing 71. I'm nervous.
Yeah,
I'm going through it. I don't deal with cars. I don't like the interstate at all. But I have to go through. I'm in Jacksonville, so it's everywhere. Oh, I hate freaking grocery stores.
Oh, me too. Yeah.
That's the worst bullies in grocery stores.
Yeah, me too. Let me see if this is the same thing you experience. So I walk into a grocery store. It's crowded. Everybody's trying to get exactly where you're standing. It's really frazzling. You get this sense of like paranoia of like, who's going to be right around the corner, who's going to crash into me. Like that's what I feel when I'm in a grocery store and everybody's kind of looking at you like you're doing it wrong. And
yeah, nervous, tense. I'm holding the handle of the buggy real tight. Like, oh, I need to hurry up and get this over with. I'm going to get TP, but I end up walking out of the grocery store with $200 worth of groceries. Like, what the f-? I'm just picking up stuff because I got nervous now. Like, I need to get out of the store. I had a complete meltdown in Sam's. Like a year ago, my niece surprised me. She's like, I'm going to take you on the shopping spree. Let's go to Sam's. Like, okay. My mind, I know what I heard. Even it came to pass that it was true, but I kept hearing this lady telling me, don't touch that. I'm like, is she talking to me? I'm like, oh God, oh God. She said it again. So I'm like, okay, so who's she talking to? So when I said it, she said it again. I'm like, oh, she battling me. I drug my fingers across the window. I'm like, I touch what I want to touch.
Yeah.
Then I had a complete meltdown and knocked everything down off the shelf. And she bends the corner. She's talking to her child. I'm embarrassed. And crying, snotty nose. What is going on? Not knowing. This is what a meltdown looks like.
Yeah.
Panicky. Yeah.
Wow.
Hate grocery store.
Wow. The Tourette Association of America is the premier nonprofit working to raise awareness, advance research, and provide ongoing support to those with Tourette syndrome or tic disorder. With a network of over 130 chapters, support groups, and centers of excellence, the TAA engages with communities across the nation in an effort to provide tools, webinars, workshops, and support for all seeking assistance. As a primary sponsor of Tourette's podcast, the TAA supports the authentic conversations showcasing the diverse representation of the TS community. To learn more, visit tourette.org, tourette.org. Do you have ways of managing it? I mean, so obviously the expression and you know, comedy has to be a big part to kind of lighten situations for yourself. But do you have any other things that you do to try to, you know, kind of cool yourself out when you need to?
Marijuana.
Yeah.
Simply that people think that it's just an addictive thing. That potheads is potheads. But when you need it, you need it. There's a want. People want it. That's fine and dandy. I need it.
Yeah.
Just for my mental stability before I even walk out the door, because before I go out the door, if I already know I got a task to do, I'm already nervous. I'm like, okay, this is going to take 2 minutes. I'm already calculating how long I'm going to be outside. And that's a damn shame.
Yeah.
But I have to live too amongst the normal folks.
Yeah.
So I'm like, oh, I hate to go out the door. But it's alienating me from my family, the people who love me, my friends. And I try to tell them, they're like, come out. I'm like, man, I don't want to be out.
Mm-hmm.
That's a shame. I'm like, how you going to spread your awareness if you're in the house? I don't care.
Yeah, yeah.
But then I get, I'm hyper again. Let's do this. Like my awareness day coming up. I'm so hyped up, but then I'm thinking about, ooh, what if I hear the wrong sound? What if I smell something? I'm going to go to bed.
Yeah.
It's going to have to happen that day.
Yeah. See, I definitely don't shy away from discussions about marijuana because, I mean, obviously, you know, like people see it as an illegal drug, it's stigmatized, and, you know, it's like you're just doing it for recreational purposes or something. I really want there to be more and more research, you know, which is difficult in the United States because it's federally illegal, but I would love to see there be, and we talked about this in a past episode, how, you know, if there's more research that can lead us to, you know, maybe synthesize it to where it's not just like, just something you buy off the street, so to speak. And there's like you know, there's a pharmaceutical version of it that, isolates like certain parts of the chemical that, you know, are more directly beneficial and kind of calm you out, but you don't feel that like high feeling or whatever it is. You know, it's like, there's definitely something that I hear from enough people who are not, you know, drug enthusiast type people who, have found that it helps them. And obviously, like me talking about this, for anybody listening, this is not me saying like, go out and try it, like, you know, talk to your doctor and all that stuff. But, cause I can't give any medical advice, but there's enough people like yourself who, you know, say that just kind of helps them to function. It's not about getting high. It's about finding sort of a new baseline where you can participate and feel good about it and be yourself and, you know, and not have to worry about all these other things that your brain is kind of doing to itself.
It should be, because I wasn't a big stickler on marijuana. Wasn't my thing. Back years ago when I was walking and hurt, I was addicted to cocaine. So that marijuana was nothing for me. Like, whatever, that's not going to do nothing. So when I needed it, I seen what I was People were like, you need it, you smoke some weed. I'm like, nah, what the hell? Now that I have done it and I've seen what the heck it do for me to make me just, and it's not like being high, like you said, it's an outlet for you to be able to maintain in this world, because there's a lot of people that really do need it.
Yeah.
And this, but we need this. It's not a want. It's not like we're recreationally doing it. We need this. My body hurts every day. I don't like pharmaceutical drugs for nothing. I don't care for them. I don't take them. They can say what they want to say. I will never put a pharmaceutical drug in my body to alter my mind with everything that I've already had going on. So that's going to be a no. But marijuana, I'm going to smoke it. It's going to elevate me for whatever I need to do. And I come back in the house and I'm maintaining, I'm cool. I'm not just sitting there sitting bongs like, okay. No, some of us need this. And they need to do better, really, for us that need it. And we shouldn't be looked down on because we use it, you know. And I get people smoking, yeah, you know. I've been one of the people that would say, I'm in the it crowd, I want to do something to do, but I wasn't doing that. But when I got what I needed with marijuana, it changed the whole outlook of what people may think of it. You know, that's what I'm saying. A lot of people, even with my mom, I try to tell her she has epilepsy. Smoke some, I tell her real quick, here, smoke some weed. Nah, my doctor say, Ma, you've been on seizure meds 53 years. What's the least going to happen if you smoke this joint? And then I keep telling her it's beneficial. It's beneficial. And hopefully she'll get on the bandwagon. Yeah.
When you said your body hurts, is it because of ticking?
Mm-hmm. I've chipped 2 teeth. I got one that's cracked. I've got to get worked on that. This is a bananas situation to be in. Anyone with TS would know this, but I have never had anything to attack my body the way ticks do. Mm. That junk is like being in a very bad relationship. It gracious, like I've been getting my butt whooped for 3 years. At some point I want to get out, but no, can't do it.
Have your tics fluctuated over time? I mean, have they gotten worse or better, or, you know, what's it been like since you were a kid?
They've gotten worse. As a child, I had one that I can remember that, and I still have it really bad too. I have my pinky finger, and I tend to just go on my lower eyelid. Mm-hmm. I've cut my cornea so many times doing that, and I still today as an adult, I still do that.
Wow.
Now that one has gotten worse because I've done it so bad. Now I'm at the top lid, and now I have to get my eye lanced because I have an infection on the eye. I'm like, oh my gracious! But everything else has been okay. But some of them has gotten bananas.
Wow!
I flipped a bird fluently like it's a second language.
Yeah.
But I've been doing that as a child. Didn't know that was a tic. I'm like, okay, I just thought it was something I like doing.
Have you had any like difficult social situations because of things like that?
Yeah. I have church folk. I haven't been to church in a very long time. I have potty mouth. I've always had this. But I'm going to put a disclaimer out because I don't want no one to come for me, and you can leave it in here. Some church folks are the worst. They are some of the worst bullies because they would say things and not understand. I would figure that I would want you to ask me a question and see about me first before you just automatically assume that you need to pray for me.
Yeah. Because
you think TS is a bad thing. It's not. It's not. It might be a bad thing to you because you don't know, but why will you alienate me?
Right.
And that's so freaking, yeah. Oh, I call them the pearl clutches. My family like, don't say that. I'm like, oh, I can't stand them ladies. They just do so much. Let us lay hands on you. Let us pray your ticks away. Like,
okay.
how does that work?
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, you obviously, you know, like, and me too, you'd rather just people, take the time to understand you versus, you know, bypassing you and what you are and what you're feeling and being like, okay, so I got to pray for you. So, you know, XYZ doesn't happen, or, instead of just, so much of the stress could be reduced. And we say this on the podcast a lot, is like a lot of the stress of ticking and social anxiety and all that could just be reduced by people just kind of taking the time to understand.
Understanding.
Yep. Yep.
It's just a simple word, understanding. I would rather deal with children than to deal with adults, because children are brutally honest. If you're fat, a child going to say you're fat. If you're fat around an adult, they're going to probably whisper to their friends.
Yeah.
You know, she sure done got big over the years. What the hell?
Mm-hmm.
They're brutally honest. They're going to tell you the truth. Adults is the one that works me. I'm like, just ask the question of why I'm doing this. Don't say that I'm on drugs or I don't know her. She's always been like this. And yes, I have had mental problems since I was a child. But that wasn't for you to point out.
Right. Right.
None of your business. That's what gets me. And then when I flip in the finger, I'm the bad folk person. You just did that to the church folk. And screw them.
Have you had conversations with, have there been any attempts or anybody who's tried to like cross that bridge and just see how you're doing as a human being versus jumping to judgment?
Some, but it's almost like they're treading really lightly. I'm the type of person, I'm like that book that you done fold it open and you hear the cracks. I'm an open book. Just shoot for whatever. I have had, I can't say the worst life, but I've had the worst type of bullshit to happen to me. So whatever you throw or ask, I've never been a person to shy away from anything.
Yeah.
I'm going to say, oh, okay, but I'm going to give it back to you. But don't just assume it. Oh, she a little mental. Why she doing the neck like that? What's wrong with her? What the hell?
Yeah.
I had a meltdown in the middle of the street in downtown Jacksonville in front of a shitload of homeless people. They made me feel so freaking good. I stood in the middle of the street and it was like they was cheering me. And I was in awe of that. They were like, go ahead, girl. I mean, full tick and screaming. And I was like, well, okay, bitch. And I don't know who the hell the bitch was who I was talking to, but we was going through it and I was ticking and everything. I'm breakdancing. They were like, go for it. I'm like, what the hell? Buggies passing me. They pushing their cars. I'm like, oh, Lord. But that moment made me feel so freaking good.
Yeah.
They didn't judge me.
You know, it takes people who have experience to, you know, so this is the kind of thing, and I think I've probably said this like every episode of the podcast, but just you having the experiences that you have and knowing that you could be misjudged for something that people don't understand, that makes you so much more empathetic and so much more able to connect with people and see people for maybe who they are, without assuming you know who they are, and taking the time to, you know, just let them breathe. And if you need to check in on them and see if they're okay, you can do that. But you can do it in a way where they're not going to take offense because you're not just rushing to some sort of judgment that there's something wrong with them. You know, like you can just be there for them without assuming, okay, this is a problem we need to fix. You know, it's like instead you can just kind of hang out and be there for them, you know, and that's usually the answer.
And that's funny that you say that, because before my diagnosis, I was more or less the go-to person for everything. Numbers especially. Before years, I was a number whiz. Now I'm dyslexic, I think. But everything emotional, anything good or bad, I was that go-to person. And I noticed since I got my diagnosis is tapered off. I'm like, okay, one, I get it. And two, I really appreciate you tapering off and stepping back, because emotionally now I can't accept y'all stuff because it'll get me in a iffy and I'll be messed up. dang, this happened to her. I'm so glad that it happened like this, but I was that person. But I'm gonna call Gogo. She's gonna tell me. She know what to do. Now they call me. They be like, "Nah, I changed my mind. You know, you gonna say something dumb." Okay, bye. Because I don't want to be emotionally attached to it anymore. No, I don't want to dick because your dog is on the carpet. No, it's a bad. I feel like TS is not bad, but it's more or less like burning a candle on both ends. You're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
That's true.
You better hope you stay in the middle, because you get too happy, you ticking. You get too sad or emotional, you're ticking like, wait a minute, what is this about?
Yeah. Yeah. I've kind of pictured it like a hot air balloon where, you know, you go too high, you're in trouble. You go too low, you crash. And you have to,
good preference.
You have to, I think I heard this actually as like a drinking metaphor of like, don't get too drunk, don't get too sober. Just like, I forgot who said that, but I kind of adopted that analogy with Tourette and depression and anxiety and all that stuff. And it's like, I need the right inputs and I have to check myself occasionally. If I'm eating too much like junk food or something, you know, I'm going to start to feel bad about myself because I don't like how I look and I don't like how I feel. I have to like, you know, I have to straighten out my input. So I have the right sort of ingredients within myself to feel better. I have to keep my place clean because, you know, if it gets too like cluttered, then that starts to reflect in my head. And so it's like just identifying these things that are like the right fuel for you, to where you don't get too high, too low, but you can just kind of keep going. And that doesn't mean problems aren't going to like crop up that knock you one way or the other, but at least I have that practice. And, I like it is true. Like burning a candle at both ends. Like you get burned if you go too far to either side.
Mm-hmm.
And well, how is, so you mentioned earlier that, you know, you haven't met other people with Tourette, but I imagine you do have, you know, some positive interactions with the community on social media. Have you developed a community online?
I have such a great following now, and I have some awesome people. I have some awesome people that follow me, and they support me, and I support them. And I would have never imagined that my voice would be so big.
Yeah.
At this stage in my life. My voice is huge. And it's funny because it's just like my best friend, she tells me all the time, because you've always been a big mouth. You're supposed to have been here, but you was dragging your feet. And I get it. I'm like, I even get people like, where are you from? And I laugh about it. Like, no, you know, met this lady, she changed her voice. Her name is Tourette. I'm like, you sure? I'm like, yeah, that's not my regular voice. It changed my voice. But it changed my voice for other people around the world to hear me. And I get it. That shit is exciting.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. A couple seasons ago, it might have been last season, I can't remember, but one of the people who left a really profound impact on me talking was Danny Jack from Scotland, who had grown up in the foster care system and, you know, just didn't really have like much of a steady home growing up, but dealing with Tourette, they're a teenager, and was giving this just really sage advice about, you know, you could be at some late stage period in your life and you don't think you found your voice yet, and then it shows up. If you're alone right now, somebody could show up for you, or it's almost like it's never too late to find your voice and to find your home with it. And all of a sudden, like, the language that you're speaking makes sense to other people around you when it didn't, when you felt just kind of isolated and alienated before. And, you know, I think it's awesome. And I'm glad we're talking, because there are a lot of people listening, and I've definitely heard from them, adults in the Tourette community who don't feel like they've found their connection yet. And, you know, they don't know anybody else with it. And a lot of people don't in their personal lives, but finally feeling confident at some point. It could be you're 16 years old. It could be you're 25. It could be you're 52. The before and after of that, I imagine, has to be pretty pretty huge for you to be able to finally have that voice.
It was bananas. Tourette's. I know people have the stigma of it being a bad thing and the rare syndrome or whatever the case. That's what I hear. And I'm like, okay, it's hush mouth. Okay, whatever, top secret CIA crap.
Mm-hmm.
But it was, and it still is, my biggest blessing. This is my biggest, because I was in such a dark place and I did not know why. But then it was TS came and it was like, we are about to take off.
Yeah.
And I have gotten TS and ran off 100 freaking pounds. I was 289 pounds. I weigh a cool 190 now. I ran myself raggedy with happiness because I'm excited. I'm like, okay, plus I got ADHD now, but I get it. My body was, and it's still an overload. Like, girl, you gotta say it. I don't care what anyone may say about my voice now, because I was so afraid at first. Like, understand me. I have a baby's voice. I sound like a preteen boy. I've heard so many people that want to talk to me, even with this voice, and this fucking crazy. I'm fucking bananas. This is happy. This is I would have never imagined something so late in my life would touch me to the point where whispering my screams, people would still hear them. This shit is crazy.
So it's almost like Tourette, like getting diagnosed with Tourette is like a cure for you.
It was. It still is. It was my outlet. It still is my outlet. It wasn't a bad thing. From day one, it's still not a bad thing. I know people, they like, oh, because most time when I tell people I have Tourette's, or they don't know it, it's always the, oh, what's the all for if you don't know about it? So It's just crazy now that I'm like, let me tell you what this heifer made me do today. I get it. And it's exciting to me. I'm not scared anymore about what the hell may happen because I know what's going on now. I'm no longer walking around in the damn dark trying to figure it out.
Yeah.
I'm in the daylight trying to figure it out. But now I know where my path is going. It doesn't look the way it looked before my diagnosis. My path was curved back then. It was bumpy and rocks everywhere. Now I have a smooth, straight line to where I need to go. And that's because I got the right diagnosis. And I'm not afraid anymore. That's the biggest thing. Tourette's gave me I'm not fucking afraid. I've been shot at church, kidnapped as a child, and a whole other shit, other stuff. I was afraid then.
Wow. I'm
not afraid anymore. My voice big for a reason now. I didn't have a voice back then because of my trauma.
Yeah.
So guess what? I got the biggest fucking voice now, and I get it. I didn't get Tourette's for me. I got Tourette's for everybody else. To see, guess what? It can happen for you. And what other shade it comes, whatever way the outlet can come, you just gotta just be patient. Sometimes you gotta be patient. I had to be patient 51 years. Like, okay, when this alarm gonna set to 12 and I'll be out of this. But when I got it, I got it. And I'm forever grateful for that doctor. They got it right for me. I was whispering for too long.
Wow.
I get it. Oh, fuck. I'm good. I feel so good about this. I feel so freaking good because oh my God, it's almost like I've been waiting for a package that's been delivered overnight and it just got here. This is so, oh my gosh, this is more, I can't even say, but bananas are wonderful. It's enlightening.
Yeah.
to flip that light switch on and everything come into play, into vision. I don't even need glasses. I see the stuff so clearly. And that's what gets me about it, people. I know I rub people the wrong way. I've been doing that before my diagnosis, but I get it why now. Because I've always been the asshole. That was the label I had. And I took that their asshole title very well. I was likely with it. Da-da-da, and she comes. But I didn't know that at one point I was referred to as a bully, and I was like, okay, maybe I am. But then when I started reading all the information that all of you put out, and the stuff that I say and the stuff that I do, it's almost like a playbook for me.
Yeah.
Okay, so you scratch that off, don't do that. It's like I have to scold myself sometimes. Like, don't do that. Don't do that. You're gonna rub them. Don't do that. Like, damn, but I want to say it. I want to do that. It's kind of fun, but then it's kind of can be dangerous at times. But who gives a hell? I'm not gonna kill anybody. I might just touch you and walk away. But I get it. This path is such a wonderful path. Finally, that's it right there. Finally, let them trumpets play, drum roll, all of that. It was supposed to be all of that in May of 2019, but I hear it all in my head still every day. This is my finale. Girl, go ahead, show it off. You and your tics. Y'all could have been delivered this package to me. Thanks. Where's my bow?
Thanks so much. I hope everybody can thank Gogo for her time. This was so good. Gogo, thanks. By the way, I think Gogo actually started her own podcast after this conversation. I'm going to link to her social media in the show notes with this episode at tourettespodcast.com, so make sure you follow her, give her a visit. I would love to hear your feedback. You can bring it to the Tourette's Podcast discussion group on Facebook with hundreds and hundreds of members, or you can email me at tourettespodcast@gmail.com. Type it out or record a voice memo that I can play on the show. And also give me your thoughts on the Tourette Association's virtual conference happening as I speak. If you're there for it, I hope you are. The span of it is the weekend of May 14th through the 16th, 2021. I'm also on a panel, actually it just happened, looking at advocacy for Tourette on social media, digital advocacy, and how to use social media and digital tools for messaging. TouretteConference.org if you still have time to register for the conference. This is going to be such a great season. Some new layers coming on. The conversations are just outstanding. I'm always welcoming your feedback along the way. We're on Instagram, we're on Twitter. There's the discussion group on Facebook or Patreon if you'd like to give individual support. Patreon.com/Tourette'sPodcast. And there's Tourette'sPodcast.com where you can listen to episode 0 of season 7 right now, as well as all the past episodes. Everything's for free. And again, episode 0 of this season is a conversation I had with Adie Smith and Brittany Wolf. They're two of the big ones, and we kicked off the Tourette conference together. So that's what that is. Thanks to Geeks Rising, the podcast network carrying Tourette's podcast. They bring it to a general listening audience, and I want to thank them for the support of Awareness Month that they've consistently given. And of course, thank you to the sponsor of the podcast, the Tourette Association of America, online at tourette.org. Thanks so much, everybody, and glad to be back with you. We'll talk to you next week. This is Ben.